Hey, I'm Dhananjay, and today I'm going to talk about polymorphism in Java. So, polymorphism basically means different forms of a method. So, you don't have to keep using new names when you slightly change a method. So, under polymorphism, there are two types, which is compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. So compile time polymorphism basically is the type of polymorphism that occurs before you press the run button. And runtime polymorphism is the polymorphism that occurs after you press the run button. So two things that come under this is there's overloading and overriding. So an easy way to remember this is that overriding has an R in it. That's how it's associated with runtime polymorphism. And overloading is associated with compile time polymorphism. So to go more in depth, so you can understand, I shall be taking on these examples in Java. So now the first thing I'm going to go through is overloading through this example. So over here, you can see that there is a class and there's a simple method, which is to add two integers. And in the main method, we're basically just calling that method to run. So right now, if I run the program, sorry for the delay. Anyways, if I run the program, it shows 3, which is basically the sum of 1 and 2. Now, what if I wanted to add two strings, and which is basically concatenate to them? So if I say hello uh, mass, so you can see that it shows an error here. And the main reason is because we don't have a method to basically put two strings together. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new method. And this will have the same name, basically add itself. And instead of taking integers, I'll make it take a string. So what you can understand from compile time polymorphism is that mainly in changing what's inside the parameters, you can use the same method name. So the association of this with polymorphism is the change in parameters. If you basically remember that, you'd be able to get an idea. So now you can see that there's no errors shown in the program. And if you run it, hello mass comes. Now, this was one example where I changed the data type of whatever I'm putting in, but I can also change the number of parameters that I put in. So uh, suppose I wanted to add 3 integers, 1, 2, 5. Now you can see another error is thrown because there's no method for this. So what I can do is create yet another method. And in this, I'm just going to add a third integer. So now you can see all the errors are gone, and now we're adding 3 numbers. So if I run this again, you can see that, oh, okay, I made a mistake. So basically, while taking 3 numbers, you're supposed to just add a third number also. And now we should get the desired output. So there you can see the third one is also adding 3 integers, A, B, and C. And we're getting 8 as a final output. So that's all for compile time polymorphism. Still struggling to say that word. The next thing I'm going to go across is the runtime polymorphism. And this basically has to do with inheritance when you're involving parent and child class. So an easy example for this is basically where I'm using the display function to display which class uh, the method currently is in. So this is there are two classes, which is basically parent and the child, which extends parent, which inherits from the parent. Right now, there's nothing inside the main function. I shall just create an object, parent is equal to new parent. Okay, p dot display. So now if I display this, we're basically calling the parent class, and it's pretty straightforward. The display of the parent class would be called, and it would say, this is parent down here. So now suppose I wanted to make a child class. Child, let's rename that to C, and C equal to new child, and we're going to say C.display. So the question is, which of these functions are going to be called? Is it, sorry, it's something, okay. So which of these methods are going to be called? Is it parent or is it going to be child? So since we're creating a child object, it's basically going to override this display function of this is child is going to override the other display function. So if I run this, you can see that this is child is displayed. Now suppose in this function you wanted to call the parent class. So a method of doing that is by using the super keyword, which calls the parent. And now I call display. So what happens is when child display is running, it first calls the parent display and then it calls the child class. So you can see this is parent is first printed and then this is child is printed next. So another thing in runtime polymorphism and overriding is dynamic method dispatch. So basically in this, what you can do is you can create a child object by using the reference to parent, and you can change the object from child 1 to child 2. So I've made three classes. One is parent, parent 1. The second one is child 1 and child 2. And both child 1 and child 2 are inheriting from parent 1. So in the main method, basically, I create a new object of child 1, which refers to parent 1. And I'm calling c1.display. So the display which is called would be, this is the first child, basically child 1's display method. So if I run this, you can see this is the first child is what comes to be printed. Now what I can do below this is I can change the object. I can say C1, which is the same object as previous, is equal to new child 2. So now C1 is an object of the second child. And now suppose I call C1 dot display. Now what happens is, since C1 belongs to second child, this is going to print this is the second child. So if I run this, it says this is first child. This is basically from the first line of C1 dot display. And then it says this is second child, which is the same object, but now it's calling the method of the second child. So thanks for listening, and I hope this gives a good idea of what runtime polymorphism and compile time polymorphism is. So thank you, and see you later.